Alright, so now that you've got your hide fleshed and dehaired, you're ready to move on to the drying and stretching phase. Now this is a very important step because by drying this hide out, it's going to allow you to rehydrate it with whatever tanning solution you decide to use, whether it be store-bought or you make it yourself out of brain or eggs. I'm personally going to use egg yolk to tan this. So we'll get to that in the next video, but for now, let's get to the drying stage. So what I start with is building my frame. Now, if you want to do a more primitive method, you can. If you can go out into the woods and find falling down trees or whatever you want to use to build your frame, that's perfectly fine. By all means, do it that way. If you want to use natural cordage, you can do that too. But what I'm using is just regular poly rope. And I went to Walmart and I bought the largest needle that they had. This is probably, I don't know, 3.5 inches long. Now, it is important to know that regular sewing needles do not puncture this hide like a taxidermy needle or a cutting needle. So if you have time, go ahead and order one of those. It'll make life a lot easier, but I'm just going to use a pair of pliers to help poke this through that hide. So let me show you how I'm going to do this. Now I've located the thickest part of the hide, which is up around the neck and the back area, and I'm going to start with there, and I'm just going to poke that needle right through that hide. Just like that, and then pull it through. And I'm going to hang it at the top first. Alright, so now that I have my hide hanging from the top, it's time to go on and fasten it at the bottom. So I'm going to do the same thing, except I'm going to pull it as tight as I can and then tie it off. Now that I have it fastened at the top and the bottom, I'm going to come over here and I'm going to do the side. Now I understand this hide looks a little dirty right now, and there's still the membrane layer that's on the flesh side. This is not the hair side, this is the meat side. And all this membrane is going to dry out and kind of become really papery. And it'll just come right off. And then whatever doesn't come off, I'll use some sandpaper and just kind of smooth it out really nice. Alright, now that I got my hide fastened all the way around the drying rack as evenly as I possibly can, it's just a waiting game. I'm going to leave it right here leaning up against this tree for 3 to 5 days. I want as much sunlight and air to get to it as possible. And if I feel like it's going to rain, then I'm just going to come out here and cover it with a tarp. So let's give it a few days. We'll come back and look at it later. Alright, so my hide's been hanging for about 6 days now. This is the first opportunity I've had to get out here because we've had some really bad weather. But you can tell it is extremely dry. Now this membrane layer has to come off or my oils aren't going to be able to penetrate this. Now what I'm going to do is use a wire brush on a drill. I was going to use an orbital sander, and if you don't have either one of those, you can actually use a rock and just kind of rough it up, or you can use some hand sandpaper in your hand. Either one will work. Now when you get up close to these edges, you want to make sure that your wire wheel is going away from the edges, because if not, you can grab it and rip it. You don't want to do that. Alright, so now that you're done with the membrane, you're ready to go on and start tanning. Or you can put it up for a later time. Now, I'm going to get this hide back out and tan it tomorrow. And I'm going to take this almost useless hide and I'm going to turn it into this. So if you want to know how to do that, please like and subscribe, follow along, and let me know what you think.